Welcome to another episode of Southeast Asia Brewing. Today's very exciting because with us here we have Nelson Lopez. Welcome, Nelson.
Hey man, how are you? Nice to see you.
Very nice to
All
meet you
good.
as
Very
well.
happy to be
Very
here.
Nice. Nelson is the CEO of XFounders and also a former global head of people operations in Gate.io with 11 years of experience in leadership and team building. Now he is also consulting 1inch as head of people. Now you guys might recall our previous episode with Fyodor Erashev, the co-founder of XFounders. But today we're going to delve deeper into the XFounders itself, maybe several companies under their portfolio, and about disruptions in the Web3 space as we know it. Yeah, Nelson, how are you, man?
All good.
How do you enjoy Bali?
Happy to be in Bali. We were just talking about it.
Yeah.
I do come from a European capital. I do find life there to be quite busy and exciting. But I am finding that there's a lot of exciting stuff happening here as well. Actually considering maybe a longer stay or
That's
a
good.
return stay to definitely find out more about Bali. Definitely feel like there's a story for me here. So yeah,
Cool,
exciting times.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Before we dive deeper into your career and other topics that we're going to flesh out here, can you give us a brief overview of XFounders itself?
Very cool. Thank you. So at XFounders, we are an accelerator born from this idea. And this is one of the first things I discussed with Feather and Fazil, the founders of XFounders. We're born from this idea that definitely accelerators could and should do better in Web3. I myself, as you mentioned, have been an advisor for VCs and accelerators. So I've seen both sides as well as a consultant for startups. If you look at what startups are doing nowadays in Web3, especially, and this tends to be recurring when the bear market comes around, more and more often you see accelerators running boot camps that look like this. Here's 2 to 3 weeks of online content, pre-recorded at that. And then here's maybe 3 minutes of a demo day in front of investors behind a Zoom call, often not even their cameras turned on. So are they really there? Are they not? It all sounds kind of, not value adding, to say the least. And then we take from you as a startup. We'll take, let's say 15, 12K. We'll take 8, 10, 12% equity or tokens or whatever it is. And that's it. Shake hands, get out there. I hope you make it. And this is something that's highly frustrating for somebody like myself, who for the past 6 years, and that's how I got into blockchain. We can go into this later. I've gotten into this business in just like from the sheer will of like nurturing founders and startups. And it just feels unfair. It led to me actually disengaging from some of the accelerators I've partnered with in the past. So when I met Feather and Fazil, and they came to me with this idea of, look, it's more work, it's more time and effort consuming, but it's returning value to all parties involved. So they came to me with this concept of 1 month long, so 1 month of in-person learning contents being delivered to a cohort of 10, 12 founders in one location where all of them work, live, eat, learn together. Not only that, it's the experts coming in who deliver the contents as well and the workshops and the master classes. They spend 2 to 3 to 4 days at a time at the same place. So you get to have dinner with them, you have breakfast, you pull up your laptop, you have one-on-one mentoring sessions with them. Not only that, it's the investors coming in as well, not just for the demo day, but spending 2 to 3 to 4 days at the same place with the startups. So you're also getting exposure as an investor to the startups, but also as a startup, you're getting exposure to the investors for 2 to 3 to 4 days at the time. I know you're getting it because I also got it when they first talked about it to me. So for all parties, it's just so much more value adding. Not only that, we're super startup friendly. For example, for past seasons, we've taken what was 5K sign up fee, which was refundable at the end of the bootcamp. So that's what it is. And we'll take maybe 0.5, 1. I think our maximum was like 2% equity or tokens from a startup.
Yeah.
So we're really startup friendly. And then for the sponsors for the bootcamp as well, we work with an exclusivity model, meaning we also don't have this, can I say bullshit? We don't have this bullshit we have in other accelerators where, you know, on a Tuesday, here's one exchange telling you why they're great. And on a Wednesday, there's another telling you why they're great and the previous one wasn't really up to snuff.
Right. Okay.
We work on an exclusivity model where if you're a sponsor, we only take, let's say, one chain as a sponsor, one centralized exchange, one PR and media company as well. So there's an incentive to sponsor our boot camps, and we guarantee you have undivided attention in the things you do from the startup.
So you don't make it too crowded in a sense.
Absolutely, yeah. So it works for everybody. Yes, it's a ton of work, but it's so rewarding for all parties involved. We got this feedback from the first bootcamp. The main sponsor was ICP. We got this feedback from the second bootcamp. The main sponsor was Solana. Went so well, even before the bootcamp was done, they were happy to sign off on a second bootcamp also, for which they'll be the main sponsor. So it works for everybody. And I know, obviously, I can tell you're getting the concept and why this is so much more value adding for everybody. This is what they came at me with. So I was in, you know. And about Fedor and Fazil, also why them? Just to also just give them their props. When I first met them, they kind of, you know, talked to me about this vision of a bootcamp in these terms. And I thought, well, okay, that's ambitious, but I'll help you in whatever I can. And then a first bootcamp happened in these terms. And then when I joined them for the first bootcamp, they talked to me about, and we'll touch on this, a second bootcamp, but bigger in an exotic location with a reality show, supporting the projection of investors, partners, and startups as well, potentially to millions of viewers. And I thought, oh, well, okay, that's ambitious. And just this past September, there it was, and I saw it happening. So today, when they tell me about their vision for the next 3 or 5 years, you bet I'm paying attention because I've seen it happen as well. So they're equal parts, you know, all inspiring, but equal parts ambitious and delivery. So yeah, I mean, long-winded, but to your question as to, you know, tell a little bit more about XFounders and what we do and why I'm there. This is it, man. It's the real deal.
Now you're also the host of the show as well.
That is correct.
Right? How's the experience on that?
So, entirely new experience for me. I have to say, there's this great quote that says, you know, very, very common amongst startup founders that says, we did this not because it was easy, but because we thought it was going to be easy. So this is definitely, I think, the idea of, you know, why I jumped on board hosting. I thought it was going to be exciting. Check. I thought it was going to be a great opportunity to convey live like the passion I feel, not just for XFounders and obviously the startups we nurture, but the whole accelerator space as well. Check. I thought it was going to be easy in terms of, just got to be my good old self and just like, I'm passionate about it, make you be passionate about it, look at the camera, that's it. I was hella wrong about that, But luckily, we had an amazing production team that we were able to attract also to this project because it's exciting. They have a lot of experience with filming reality shows, also for huge streaming platforms. So they came in with the knowledge and the IQ and the patience as well to coach me as a first-time host. But the good thing was that I was passionate about what I was doing. So everything else was just kind of repetition, you know? So maybe it's not the first take, that's perfect, it's the 12th take. But I'm having fun all throughout the 12 takes. So at the end, I think it was really rewarding for everybody. The passion was there. I think you can also tell throughout the show, you'll get to watch the narrative and the character development in each one of the startup founders. So that's something I was also very happy to enable. So it was exciting. I'm excited about the final product. We filmed it with 100% like professional equipment that they use, for example, and we researched this. So we use the same equipment that they use for Amazon Prime shows, so professional grade quality.
Right?
And Netflix as well. So professional grade quality. The trailer is up on YouTube as well. It did like, I think 100K.
Looks amazing, man.
It was like 100K views in the first 24 hours. It was crazy. Great test. for myself as well, in terms of, do I like seeing myself on camera or not? But yeah, man, I love doing it. I'm really happy with the quality of it. I think it's going to do wonders as a projection to the brands there as well, because it's not marketing, it's not product placement, it's not like Shark Tank, where you have 5 minutes exposure and you forget about the project the moment they walk out the door. It's like 10 full episodes where you see, again, character development. You fall in love with the people. You see the products as well.
Personal bond.
The personal bond. You're rooting for that startup to make it. So by the time the first episode is over, you're hooked. By the time the 10th episode is done, you're looking into what they're doing. Where are they now? How is the product developing as well? So it's an opportunity for branding and just projection of what you're doing at an emotional level that is just not being done yet within Web3, because it's unlike any other format. So really yes, it was the first time for me, but how can I not be excited about something like this?
But talking about excited, I wanted to know your journey into crypto and Web3 in general. How did it start?
Very good. So, when you ask somebody why they got into blockchain or Web3 or crypto or whatever you want to call it, it's usually one of three things. It's usually either the potential for financial gains, which is fair. It's either the technology behind blockchain or the philosophy of decentralization. So, and you can probably tell by my nonverbal behavior that for me, it's definitely the latter. Yes. So the philosophy behind decentralization, this opportunity to, so much in Web3 is about self-accountability, self-industrialization in terms of like rolling up your sleeves and industriousness. You do it yourself and do it for yourself and for others. This idea that, the rising tide lifts all boats, and an opportunity to stick it to the man, to decentralized agents profiting off of what in essence are our rights, whether we build them or we are born with them. People are profiting from our rights by adding complexity to what should not be complex. And that to me kind of, there's a way out. It was like literally like, that moment in you'll be able to guess my age by making reference to a movie that's like 25, like The Matrix. Yes. When you start seeing, instead of live colors, you start seeing like the Matrix code, it starts all kind of falling down. This is what's happening, and there's an alternative to this life. So to me, it was definitely the philosophy behind decentralization, taking back the power to like own and be accountable for what is in essence a right you have. And in this particular case, not just financial education and independence and empowerment, but also access to very basic commodities that enable your life. So at the time, and this was 2017, I found out about a project called Helium. And Helium is what we today would call DePIN, although that term wasn't around back then. But basically, instead of having these big cell network towers that give off huge bandwidth for what we used Helium for at the time, which was IoT devices, meaning these are devices that use the internet, not for navigation, so they don't need broadband, but just at a bit size level of packets. So for example, a GPS tracker on an animal or a car or a scooter, that just sends a signal every 30 minutes saying, this is where I am and this is how much battery I have. At the time, if you wanted to onboard, let's say you want to open a business of scooters that people can rent around the city. You don't need to pay $2K or $5K a month to these big cell network providers to have 50 scooters using very low bandwidth. You could onboard Helium for like $10 a month and have a fleet of like 50 scooters. So the way this is done is the infrastructure. Anybody could get at the time a little hotspot, put it on their windowsill. It would give off network on a radius of maybe 1.5 miles or 2 miles, and you would be rewarded by the usage of the signal that your hotspot would provide to your city. So you're providing network to your city. So me being me, I bought 26 hotspots. I deployed all 26. I got contracts with hosts because I don't have 26 houses yet. But then I got contracts with my friends and cousins and people. I rang doorbells just to deploy a network of 26 in my city. And at the time, the token HNT did 60x in 1 year. So that was highly rewarding also from the financial side of things. So this is how I got into it. About a year after, I found out I wanted to make blockchain my whole day, every day. So I started just kind of raising my hand, going to Discord channels of projects I thought were cool, going to their Telegram channels, going on Reddit, just saying, hey, this is what I do, yeah? I develop leadership, I build teams, I do organizational design. Let me do this for you. Because everybody was a startup back then.
Yeah.
So that was me for like 3 years. And just building up confidence and knowledge and experience, being a consultant under my own name for founders and startups as well. Then in 2021, I joined Gate.io as their head of people. And a year later, I joined HQ of Gate.io as the global head of people and operations there. So that means my job was twofold. One, to look after a team of people who looked after everybody at Gate, reporting directly to the CEO and deputy CEO. And the other part of my job there was to launch and scale new Gate business units in regions of the world where Gate needs to have licensed entities to offer our services compliantly there. So this means launching business units in Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, Lithuania, Gibraltar, Bahamas, Panama, all of the classics. So really deep dive into operations and how to launch a new business unit. Yeah, so
that's cool.
This was all of the convergence to what took me then to XFounders, because they saw all of this.
Yeah.
And from nurturing founders and startups to big, crypto operations at Gate.io, to advising for VCs and accelerators, to then launching business units. It feels like everything I've done so far kind of put me in a place where I can now do it systemically for and with XFounders. So yeah, that's been a bit of my path so far.
Right. So you have a lot of experience already with startups. I mean, you've been observing them since when startup was like the ultimate thing.
Yes.
Right. And I want to, if we can share a bit about some companies under your portfolio, under XFounders portfolio, especially the ones that have been already on the show.
Yes.
Or maybe the previous show, or maybe like the show that we're gonna air this December. Maybe you could share.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, wow, all of them. This is one thing that we also do, just for context. So, one of the things we do with the main sponsors of any bootcamp is that we invite them to be part of the selection process of the startups that end up making up the cohort. So let's say we start with a funnel of 2,000. When we're chiseling it down up to 200, we invite the main sponsor over, and they have a chance to also say according to what they're interested in the return they're having. So more from this or that narrative as well, more at this or that stage, kind of what the product is, what the solution is. So try to get a nice mix and match that also kind of coincides with the main sponsor's interest. And also with the add-on of the show, we have to think also of the characters and the stories we have to tell. So we need to have kind of a mix and match of that too.
So like the balance between showmanship and
absolutely
educational aspect, if you will.
Absolutely, because at the end it ends up serving itself as well. So you have all of the classicals. You can think of this, it all goes back even to like the Greek tragedies of what makes up a good story and what makes up good character development. So we also add that onto the filter. So it's a good mix and match. I'm very happy with the cohort we had. So if we're talking about, for example, some startups that I think will be really cool to follow. I mean, obviously all of them, but let's do this exercise. So I really liked the story throughout the show of Folks Finance, for example, which was the biggest DeFi protocol on Algorand. By the way, as a result of our bootcamp, they found out multi-chain is the way forward for them. So that's a big change as a result directly of exposure to Solana as a major or the main sponsor of the bootcamp. So this is a very clear, measurable, direct return to our main sponsor from one bootcamp. So that's a super interesting story to tell. They just closed also a huge financing round right now. So also great KPI because as a bootcamp also, or as an accelerator also, we do have to pay attention to, what are some metrics here that our startups acquire following the bootcamp, because that's also a measure of our impact. So huge financing round they just closed. Congratulations to Benedetto and Folks Finance. Another one I'd mention likely would be Mars Base. Mars Base actually got funded at the demo day as a direct result, for example, of adding a new product line to their services throughout the bootcamp, just out of, and you'll see it, a direct consequence as well of the bootcamp and mentorship they got at the bootcamp, and just light bulb moment. Let's go with a new product. Brilliant branding, by the way. Mars Base is the name of the company. Marshmallow, the name of the new product. Isn't this? I love it. I love it. But in any case, apart from the great branding, the product itself is amazing. So another great example of how, as a consequence, direct result, measurable, observable of being in the bootcamp, value added to the startups as well. I would also add, for example, Skate Pro. Very interesting.
The AI project, was it?
Exactly right. Yeah, see, you heard about it. So very good merger between Web3 and AI as well. Very new lane. And we were just, I would say lucky, but I know for a fact it wasn't luck. We had the vision to just now, or at the right time of Skate Pro's idea and need for backing and our support to spot that. And already I can tell you, pay attention to Skate Pro as well. I don't want to spoil the surprise. I want to let Skate Pro come out with formal communications, but I can tell you we're looking at multiple X what they were just in September. So I would say those are three examples of that you will be able to observe their narrative and their growth and their story and the people behind the startups in the show. And look them up online right now. You can tell, online won't let me lie. You can check them out, and you can see just what their milestones and their roadmap has looked like from September to now, and just what they've achieved. And in the show, you'll be able to see how all of that tracks back to contributions and value added from the bootcamp, which takes me back to the very first question of XFounders Accelerator existing to give this value back to the accelerator space in Web3. And I promise you, and I've been involved in other types and other formats of boot camps, none of this would have happened for any one of these three startups if they had engaged in a 2-week online boot camp and then here's 3 minutes of a pitch and make it out there, give me mine, So yeah, this is again, I'm sorry, long-winded. I just get excited about it.
No, yeah, I'm pretty excited as well here listening to the answers. But let's track back a bit and talk about XFounders itself.
Yes.
I remember Theodore over there, episode 4 of this podcast, he talked about XFounders as if it is a product.
Yes.
On constant iterations. Like every season, things needs to get better. There needs to be like more improvements. What do you take on? What's your take on that?
Absolutely that. Yeah. So first of all, we ourselves are a startup. We ourselves have an amazing idea and have an amazing product.
Yeah.
Again, it's not luck that we've had an amazing product from our first bootcamp.
Yeah.
This one was, again, many times over the quality, the impact, the engagement overall of the first bootcamp.
Okay.
I've told you already that when they talk to me about plans for the next 3 to 5 years, I pay attention, and we can go into a little bit of that as well. So the fact that we do like these iterating bootcamps that over, let's say, the course of the next year, by the way, we're moving from 1 bootcamp per year to up to 4 bootcamps per year. So
that's crazy.
As an organization, we're looking at easily 3x our current portfolio of startups in just 12 months. And in terms of portfolio valuation, considering just this multiples of acquisition of new startups for our portfolio, but the value added and the great work from the startups already in our portfolio, we're easily looking at, I was talking about this with Feather yesterday, we're looking at probably like something like 18x or something in the next 12 to 18 months as well in terms of portfolio valuation, okay? So looking at the boot camps and what we're looking to do, again, yes, it's harder work, but that's what we're here for. But it's just one of the advantages of not going into this easy fast food accelerator model of rinse and repeat. So give me the online pre-recorded content. Give me a couple of VCs who might have mild interest. Good. We can do this 20 times and we spam the market and we spray and pray as well out there in the market. We actually try to do it better. So this is why, one, it takes us a runway of about 3 months to fully prepare a premium, top quality grade boot camp for everybody involved, from the investors to the sponsors to the startups as well.
And the mentors as well.
The mentors as well. So with this, and because we take on the challenge to do it the right way every single time, we do have an opportunity to iterate again, and every time just make it better and make it better and make it better, because we're not shooting like one boot camp per month or 2 boot camps per month or 2 boot camps simultaneously, because we just need people in front of computers looking at pre-recorded content. It takes us a longer runway, but it's so much more rewarding for everybody involved that it's just worth it, you know? So yeah, that's a little bit of an insight and a peek into our iterating model, where yes, we start not from scratch, because we start from built on confidence and results and evidence of success. Every time we finish a bootcamp, we go into the next one stronger, not just portfolio-wise, but in terms of network-wise, connections-wise, investor trust-wise. The show will do wonders for this as well. So we're not starting from scratch, let's say, in terms of reputation. We're building on it, but we are starting a new bootcamp every time we start over. So yeah, yes, 3-month runway to get something outstanding out there, but it is something outstanding worth putting out there, and it allows us to learn from the lessons and iterate again. So that's something that we are really, really excited about too.
Right. And what are the biggest lessons leading up to this season? The season is going to air very soon for XFounders.
So I would say, for sure, the attention, not so much lessons on the back of failures, but I would say lessons on the back of positive feedback we got from the startups. So for sure, this individual attention that our model offers. So the fact that startup founders get to spend quality time with investors and with mentors and with experts is one of the things that everybody loves, because the connections are there so much more stronger. And this is also a way, and one of the things we want to invest also heavily going forward in making sure that we continue to support the startups after the bootcamp is over. But this has so far been one of the biggest lessons in terms of how loud the metrics are shouting at us, continue to do this, is just the sheer amount of connections between startups, investors, and mentors after the bootcamp. Because again, they're not just exposed to mentors in this pre-recorded content or like an hour online via Zoom and then, you know, I disappear into the mist. It's 3 or 4 or however many days, the bonding is there, they exchange contacts, the trust is there. And just the sheer amount, like the percentage of connections that the startups maintain and have ongoing after the bootcamp and continue to enable them after the bootcamp is over, that's something that we're really proud to point and say, that's us, you know? So if we look at some mentors being onboarded as advisors, if we look at one of our investors investing after the fact, after the bootcamp on one of the startups, all of that good stuff is happening today. And we're proud to say, that's us. We don't need to, because the startup comes to us and they say, that was all you know, but still, that's one of the ways that we really want to heavily invest is, and now to your question, that's one of the biggest lessons is the bootcamp doesn't end by the bootcamp's end. And that's one thing that happens with most bootcamps out there. The bootcamp is ongoing. It keeps living. So we look at this ghost of the bootcamp many, many months after, and that the connections we promote and the trust and the bonding is so much more present to the way we do things that it keeps living after the bootcamp is over. And, you know, every day it feels like I go on some of the updates from these startups or LinkedIn or Twitter. I see 2 people we promoted the handshake at the bootcamp, or that, you know, I see an advisor or a mentor joining as an advisor. I see an investor now going for or supporting or becoming an angel from one of these startups. And yeah, there's a warm fuzzy feeling for all of us going, you know, like that's XFounders right there. We did this. I don't need to be in the conversation all the time, always. I'm happy that we promoted that, because that's kind of why we do it as well. So yeah.
All right, that's good, man. But obviously you've seen a lot of like startups going through like different kinds of journey from each and every one of them, right? Different kinds of phenomena, different experience and for each of those startups. Now let's move on to a topic that I'm eager to talk to you about. is the disruptive elements of Web3 itself. And I wanted to talk about some of the problems that might have arisen in your show, let's say, in the bootcamps, let's say. What are, if you can name like several or maybe a few, some of the most like annoying problems or annoying mistakes in Web3 in general, or maybe in the startups themselves?
Right, very well. So this is something very fun to think about, especially as we go through the funnel of startups. And again, typically it'll go from about 2,000 applications to 200 to 10. I mean, the issue with Web3 right now is that it's not become about, it was once, and maybe this is a me problem because I got into Web3 for being an idealist. Maybe this will teach me a lesson. But it's not become so much about solving a problem as it's become about rewarding and self-gratification, you know? I don't go to a 5-star restaurant because I want to go to the bathroom an hour later. Going to the bathroom is a consequence of having a great meal, yeah? You should start thinking of a solution to a problem because you want to solve a problem.
Yeah.
But I see so many people wanting to start a startup because they want to get rich. And that's the going to the bathroom part. You should be rewarded, whether financially or reputationally or impact-wise, whatever it is.
Something intrinsic.
Yes, out of a consequence of doing something that matters, not the other way around. And you know, we all know of basic examples like driving a meme coin project, for example. Does it solve an issue? I think not. Being the 10,000th, let's say, RWA project coming in because this narrative is hot. Is that solving a problem that's not already being solved elsewhere? I think not. Picking up some white label solution for an exchange, for example, for a centralized exchange even. Is that solving a problem, or are you just hopping on board because you realize exchanges are kind of, bear market proof? Is that solving a problem? I think not. So starting an accelerator by giving a cheap boot camp that you can just rinse and repeat. Are you solving any startup's problem? I think not. And I'm okay with saying all of this. You know who you are. Call me, we'll meet outside. But we see a lot of, there's an inverse logic here where it's just become about the rewarding of things, not about wanting to solve a problem. And that is what I think is one of the main issues of Web3, because the fruit has hung so low for so long that it's just become too easy to jump to the rewarding part without actually being passionate about
and that's what's happening
right
now as well, right?
Absolutely right. And I don't even mean so in terms of just hopping to the rewarding part of things. It's also about people, if you're truly, and I'm comfortable speaking in these terms because I hope it's clear that the passion in which I manifest against these types of founders is guarantee that the filter is tight for the founders we do accept at XFounders. But what I mean to say is not only have like the motivational anchors have become inverted, but also we find so many people, so many, I'll say it, uninspired founders, or founders that if you grill them a little bit, they know they're not trying to solve a problem. And a great test for this is to grill them on the solution that they have. Because a truly inspired founder, a founder who is truly passionate about solving a problem, they are willing to marry the problem, whatever the solution is, to solve that problem. Uninspired founders typically marry the solution because if you take away the solution, they've got nothing.
They fell in love with the solution and forget about the problem.
Yes, absolutely. Or even not fell in love. The solution is all they have. You take away that solution, you poke holes at that solution, it's fugazi, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And that's a great litmus test for founders.
I love that Wall Street reference.
Absolutely, yeah. They got nothing.
Yeah.
They got a solution. They've invested so much in it. We can go into the investor part of the problem as well. I'll touch on it lightly.
Yeah.
But
Please.
yeah, I'll burn those houses as well. But we found so many uninspired founders, and in my experience as well with startups in the past, where you see founders marrying a solution because the solution is the driver for their motivation, which is the reward. It's not about solving the problem, not this connection here. It's this. This solution will bring me my reward, which is what I'm doing this for. And if you poke holes at the solution, you see them fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
And that's just a great litmus test to why you're in it. And this is one of the things that I think is wrong now with Web3 is, yes, you hear a lot of exciting pitches, exciting technology. We're super focused on the next cutting, bleeding edge of what the next big thing is. That's where all the money is going. We're forgetting about developing solutions.
Right.
There's 1 million people right now, I'm sure, in this island alone, beautiful island of Bali, that can benefit from technology we've had for the past 7 years. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the next ZK Sync, EVM, whatever. Don't talk to me about none of that. I would rather much hear about how you want to help the next 1 million people with something we've had the technology for, enough to help and support and onboard people, because that tells me you're looking at a solution, not, you're looking at the problem rather, not the solution itself, yes? Lightly on the investor side of things, because I've also worked with investors.
Sure.
What's wrong? So at the very edge of the past bull market, I heard and I advised against a lot of investors who said, we'll invest in this startup because I like the founder. And that was their whole reasoning. Yes, I advised against it, but that's fine. That's and I've come to terms with this, and I'll tell you why. And about 3-6 months ago, we've just gotten a whiff of the bull market again. Right. Maybe it's coming up. It wasn't with the Bitcoin halving, so maybe we learned our lesson. Things cool down. Maybe it's next year. Let's see what the next cycle tells us. Now we're getting a little bit of a whiff of the next bull cycle. Maybe we'll have a super cycle. We don't know. And again, I'm hearing investors going, I'll invest in this startup because I like the founder. So we've had bull market, completely founder driven, 0 metrics, 100% vibes.
Yeah.
In the bear market, very technical conversations. Oh, you want me to invest? What's your roadmap like? What are your milestones? What are you doing? I think you're diversifying too much. I want you to drop 2 products from your startup, focus on the 3 that are performing the best. Real technical conversations. And then we get a whiff of the bull market, and we're back to the same point that we were in the past bull market, which was, I'll invest because I like the founder. So it feels to me like it's the dumb investor and the Jedi investor that both invest because they like the founders. And then it's the mid investor that gets really technical. Yeah. But I think there's also a relationship here with cycles. Yeah. So I think we're also we've just gone really, really quick back to the conversation about investing because we vibe with founders. And I don't think that's a wise approach. The investors I work with, I tend to advise them more towards the, let's look at the numbers here. Let's look at
more objective approach.
Yeah, let's again, maybe I'm crazy, but let's ask them at least once, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And we don't see enough of that. So yeah, I think we're the issue with Web3, in one thought I would say is today, we're like dogs chasing our own tails, where we're looking at what gratifies us the most. Yeah. Meanwhile, there's a perfectly good problem here that deserves our attention that we're completely forgotten of, and there's too many, which is why I love the process of screening startups as well. Right. Obviously, into finding these amazing projects to join our boot camps.
You're gonna find all those kind of solution-driven startups as well, right?
Absolutely, because that's also the value. I mean, the moment you take up wanting to be an accelerator, granted, you do it for the right reasons.
Sure.
I am talking to you other accelerators out there. You take up accountability with your investors.
Yeah.
And you don't grow your portfolio, you don't return value to your investors by being fugazi, you know, by chasing these uninspired founders, especially if you consider that often you really start looking at interesting return cycles on your investment as an accelerator after 3, 5, 7 years runway. We're looking for people that are in it for the long run. We're looking for people who will be, you know, huge monsters in this industry, and we'll be able to say, we were there when, you know, you were right at the start. And not just is this good for the startups, it's good for us as well, but it's amazing for our investors because that just means multiples of X on their investment, and that's the responsibility we take. So we are in this for the long run, and part of this is looking for the Jedi founders who actually are in it for the right reasons.
Cool. But what's the most rewarding part for you, being the host and the CEO of XFounder shows, like meeting all these startups and talking to them?
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding part for you?
I have my answer, but I will take part of my own growth is listening more to the feedback of the environment and the world around me.
Okay.
So I will give you the answer that most people gave me throughout these past 2 boot camps, and this one in particular, the September one, where I spent 1 month mentoring and coaching and just also hosting. But I think where people feel me the most, and it is true that it is highly gratifying for me, is just this human part of, and I don't have another way to say it, carrying the founders and just looking after them and just being like their mom and dad for, you know, in as much as I can possibly can, because I don't see myself as, you know, in my relationship with them, in the back end of things, it is my responsibility as CEO to make sure XFounders is the best, most value-adding accelerator out there. I don't care what your name is as another accelerator, we're coming for you. You know, we want either to work with you or to be you or to be better than you. You know, we're coming. But then on the human and the bonding and
there's no beating that.
The nurturing part of it, it's so rewarding to look at the path of a founder and to watch their growth after a couple of days and a week and a couple of weeks and 1 month in a boot camp, where, you know, I don't necessarily do it, but they come to me and they say, see this thing that I did, or this confidence I developed, or this pivot. And that was you, Nelson. Thank you so much for that, because that was really precious what you did.
That's cool.
This is highly gratifying. And again, it's not about, there's no way for me to feel good about it if I don't know, but it's not about the knowing. It's about the fact that it's there, you know?
The impact itself.
Yes. So this impact driven, at the end of the day, I'm also a builder. So knowing that I can bring you something and it's like, hey, here's something from me to you, make it out there. This wasn't here before, I made it for you. This is something that is the most gratifying for me. And yeah, just being there, being, you know, playing mother and father for these founders, and honestly, being emotionally invested in their success feels like that, and that is 100% like, I can't fake wanting these founders to make it like a son or a daughter, you know, and I know they feel it, even though it's not the thing I'm trying to put up front first for them to see. They all kind of saw it and caught me on it. So yeah, if I have to be honest, that's probably it.
Oh man, were there any like emotional moments between you, like personally? I know that there's in the show itself, there's going to be like lots of emotional moments because it's sort of like a roller coaster in itself. But for you yourself, when talking with these founders, do you find yourself in that moment where there's sort of a more personal problem?
For sure.
Like that?
So I would highlight two occasions here. The first one is ongoing, and it's going to be visible and highlighted often in the show is just, and much like you would watch a son or a daughter push themselves and overcome.
Yeah.
Definitely emotional to watch some of these founders overcome, not just on the technical side and the learning. So learning about networking skills and going to a huge event and overcoming perhaps this fright of coming up to somebody and pitching yourself or just striking a conversation out of the blue, and then me coaching them into some of these techniques, and they come back and they said, I talked to like 20 people in like 1 hour. It was great. I got so many contacts, and they're excited like it's a superpower. Or more on the, let's say, the self-development side as well, where some of the founders, for example, were afraid of swimming in deep water. And we promoted them we organized for them a free diving activity. And they come back and they say, I dove 15 meters deep. I held my breath for 1.5 minutes and I was afraid to go in deep water. This is also very, very exciting because it's about challenging yourself as a person and as a founder, which ultimately it's what we're there to promote it as a bootcamp as well. So you come in, you're looking to develop yourself either on a technical perspective as a founder, as a business leader, or as a person at very deep personal levels. I did it. I did something that was completely unexpected. That just, it did get me emotional. And again, show me one bootcamp out there that does this. I challenge you to do it. And then I would say the other highly emotional event is obviously the goodbyes and the farewells.
Yeah, because you've already become a family at that point.
I mean, by the end of the first week, come on. But again, because we promote such a close bonding and people rise together, they're together until they say good night, see you tomorrow. So the whole day is just bonding. It just feels like a big, it's in itself a big startup and a big family. And you see the different connections, you see the different personal like kinship and brother and sisterhood kind of being developed there. That is just beautiful. It helps on a very material level because it motivates people to whatever I can do for you as a bootcamp season 2 brother, I will, and so there's advantages even to your business, obviously, in the way you help each other, but also on a personal level, just the goodbyes. And in my own case, because I've worked with multiple startups over the past 6 years, so I know how to condition myself to detach as we reach the end of however long we have together. So as I performed this exercise myself towards the end of the boot camp, cried together, and I'm not afraid to say this, I cried because as I was doing this and already detaching and saying goodbye in my own way, where it's I've been saying goodbye, so now it's time to me just kind of take a step back off stage and let you guys kind of experience the goodbyes as a cohort together. I've fulfilled my role as a host, as a mentor, as a coach, as the CEO. So now it's okay. Now I'm stepping back. I'm watching the kids play, and I take a step back. They wouldn't let me, and they pulled me back to this farewell process, and they gave me a lecture on you're part of this as well. You're one of you're not separable from this experience. Your place is here, crying with us and saying goodbye to all of us with us.
Did you dare go off
You
first?
don't get to disappear into the mist, and they saw right through me, But this is also a consequence of dealing with highly intelligent individuals, where that intelligence also translates to emotional intelligence, where they saw right through me and right through what I was trying to do, and they wouldn't let me. And they said, no. We see what you're doing. We won't let you. Your place is right here, hugging and kissing and just crying with us. You're not separate. This doesn't happen. This is not outside of you. You're part of this with us. And that was highly emotional as well.
My God, man.
Yeah, you got to come over for the next one. You got to check it out.
Sure, man. I'd love to check it
look,
out, man.
at least for a couple of days.
Sure.
It's an experience and a half, man. I swear.
Yeah. But were there any competitive nature, like at some of the episodes, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, like any good, also emotionally intelligent individual, this is what made up our cohort as well. This is something that myself, I was there to moderate if it came up. It never came up as an issue, but the main driver for competition you see there is the competition with self.
Okay.
And you see that also in the show where people try to overcome and drive themselves farther and farther and push themselves. With all of also the drama that comes with this, and that we got very vividly also as part of the documentation for the reality show, and people are going to be able to see it, where you see people needing a moment to take up the fact that they had anxiety attacks whenever they were on water, and they just came in from a freediving experience that took them, 15 meters deep, and they have to just take a moment to acknowledge that, but they push themselves to do it. You see people crying at 5 a.m. going up a hill after 4 hours of trekking to see the sunrise up in a volcano here in Bali.
What a moment,
because not only have they never trekked before, but they've been trekking since 1 a.m. and it's now 5 a.m. So it's a trip and a half as well. And you see people, they're crying crying not just out of frustration because we're not there yet, but crying as tears are the weakness leaving your body, and pushing themselves. And, you see all of this commotion. Do we need a car? Do we need to be carried? No, leave me alone. I need to get through this. I need to walk. And you see some of these founders going through this process as well. You see the challenging conversations between co-founders and then previous investors telling them, look, we know we started off with a premise in this bootcamp, but we've learned here that we need to pivot the whole product we're about. So we're pivoting our product. We're coming out of this bootcamp a different startup. And this also happened, by the way, at our past bootcamp. So having these difficult conversations with investors, with co-founders as well, with teams, all of this, I think, is more true to the competitive nature that we captured for the show as well. But regardless of the show, was there and is a consequence of the bootcamp as well. So not so much competition in between founders. There's egos in there because, with being a brilliant person, with being a leader, as a core trait, you do get accessory traits as well. So maybe, you have several people at the table that are more used to being listened to than to listening, let's say. So there is some room for like ego adjustment there.
Of course.
And also you'll be able to see this in the different characters and personalities of the show. But at the end of the day, again, all of them highly emotionally intelligent individuals. This will also come across very clearly for anybody following the show. And you will see how very quickly they pivoted from this competition to I win by beating myself more than anything else, And you see also the click there in the different characters throughout the show as well. So yes, highly competitive environment, but more towards oneself than in between, let's say, the founders themselves. And believe me, man, the competition with oneself is plenty of food for drama and intensity as well. It'll make the show also really fast paced, just the way things happen.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the audience, I can tell that they could like relate to that
for
self-growth
sure.
as well, right?
For sure. Like now you come for the intensity, you stay for the education in Web3. Which is also what we're hoping to achieve with the show too. So reality show is the overarching kind of umbrella we're using, but it's more so a docu-series, edutainment, all of this also applies. But it's just so fast-paced and intense that people will be able to see what I'm talking about for sure.
Really cool, man.
A
bit of if you could give one piece of advice to early stage founders looking to disrupt the industries with their own problem, with their own solutions, what would it be, man?
don't listen to the critics.
Okay.
Nobody ever put up a statue to honor a critic. There's not a single statue in the world that says, whomever, famous critic. They don't set up statues for critics, yeah?
Yeah.
So if you have a problem in this world that you've fallen in love with, marry that problem, put a chokehold on that nasty little thing, and make it your life's mission to solve that problem, regardless of what the way there looks like. Don't marry the solution, marry the problem. Yeah. So there will be people coming in and telling you that's not the fastest way to profit. That's not the path of least resistance. That's not a problem people are interested in. Whoever comes into your life telling you that's not, don't listen to them. Because you know what that's not? Their business. It's not their idea. It's not their baby.
Yeah.
It's not their dream. It's not their hopes, not their aspirations. Yeah. It's yours. You own it. You're accountable for it. If you're going to fail or succeed, might as well be on your own terms. 100 times better to say, I failed because I pursued this way, than to say, I failed because this person here told me to go in a different direction. Same as with success. Much more rewarding, and I've been on both ends, much more rewarding to say, I succeeded because of me, than to say, I succeeded because I kind of leaned on to, oh, so how did you make it? Oh yeah, I followed this person's kind of advice. Yeah, they made it really. Yeah. I just kind of put in the work. So don't listen to the critics. There's no project. If you're an early stage founder, there's no project, no solution for which the stakes are so high that you absolutely have to follow what somebody else says. If you're Series A, Series B, if you have, $500 million raised and you have a board of investors, if you've diluted your stake in the company so much that it's barely your company, then fine. You have to tune what you do, and that's a stage. Maybe you'll get there. It's okay. You'll get there. There's time for you to have to listen to other people, but as a baby, as an early stage. Maybe I am too paternal with startups, but I'm getting these like childhood analogies. Okay. It's like a child being in a hurry to grow up. As grown-ups, the best advice we'd give to a kid would be, dude, don't be in a hurry to grow up. It sucks. It's taxes and decision and like driving and traffic, it's enjoy, right? So for early stage startups, the best thing about you right now is not having to listen to anybody. Have fun. The stakes are low. Don't put it on yourself as if the whole world is going to either crumble or make it based on this one idea. It's an idea you have, yeah? Most likely, if you have founder blood in you, it's the first of many ideas you'll have, of many startups you'll have. Ask anybody who's on their first or fourth or fifth startup how much stakes they put on their fourth or on their first. I know it feels today the world's gonna end if you fail. It's not. You're gonna fail forward. You're gonna do better the next time. I hope you fail, because then you'll come back stronger next time, and that's a good test on whether you do have founder blood in you or not, is if you want to be a founder. Being a founder, or rather, founder to me is a verb, not a noun. Founder is something you do, it's not something you are. And a lot of people want to be the noun, they don't want to do the verb. So do the verb. Have fun being a founder. Fail, test, experiment, enjoy the low stakes. If you're early stage, that means low stakes. Have fun with it, and don't be in a hurry to get it right, so much so that it stops being your thing because you're chasing all of these inputs and listening to all of these critics about how you should do it. Yes, you should know how you should do it because nobody else is doing it for you.
I'm gonna take that very personally.
Yes.
That's a fantastic motivational speech, man.
Let's go.
Okay, anyway, getting back to XFounders.
Yes.
What's next?
Interesting. So remember when I told you that on the back of the first boot camp, and I saw Feder and Fazil deliver. And on the back of the second boot camp, where I saw Feder and Fazil deliver, I now pay attention to when they tell me about some of their plans for what's to come.
Yeah.
Let me then show you a little bit under the hood here.
Sure.
Yeah. So first of all, we're looking to grow and expand from just 1 to 4 boot camps.
Huge leap.
Right here this year. Yes. By the way, this is firsthand information for you right here as well, for your audiences as well.
Sure.
We have now, on a part of Solana, which I mentioned, we have already 2 main huge ecosystems already committed to sponsoring 2 other boot camps in 2025. So those are happening for sure. I also want to do something around the Bitcoin ecosystem as well, because as sexy as it's not become, I do feel like there's some interesting use cases there.
Yeah.
I feel like partners and investors are highly motivated in that space because they don't get as much attention as others. There's beautiful things happening, for example, in El Salvador in terms of government incentives, ecosystems there, Bitcoin villages, there's use cases there. So I would like to try something out in El Salvador as well, where we do a boot camp that's embedded in an ecosystem that's using the technology. So having founders of projects building on Bitcoin ecosystems, not just within the bootcamp themselves, but guess what? They get to go out of the bootcamp, out of that space, and interact with the users in real time all over El Salvador. I think there's a really potential use case here to also build a show, a reality show season around this, to showcase not just the beautiful things being done in El Salvador around Bitcoin at a government level in the incentives there, but also get founders out of this abstraction level. And okay, so good. So now let's go work with some of these communities, yes? Yeah. And you can A/B test real time, applications of your product with merchants and business owners and civilians in the streets of El Salvador. So I think there's an interesting use case here. So for sure, we have the commitments to already have 3 boot camps next year, plus 1 I would love to try in El Salvador as well. We're also looking for the next 5 years, increase our portfolio valuation from currently 50 million to 500 million as well. Again, I'm being conservative here, just looking at the numbers of what we're forecasting for 2025. I think this is a very, very achievable outcome in the next 3 to 5 years as well. We have the reality show, which we couple with our core delivery, which is the bootcamp as well. And we're thinking of a couple of other lanes to also invest in. We would love to, in the field of also abstraction here, we would love to start looking into what developing some physical hubs would look like for us, having a physical spot for XFounders where builders, founders, investors can come in and have a one-stop shop for everything network they need. This has no place in our roadmap right now. It's something we would like to do. It's an aspiration.
Very interesting.
It's a jotted down idea on my whiteboard at home. Also, on the base of the success of the bootcamps we have put together and the amazing network we're building, we are getting some very interesting signs from the market to develop a lane of bootcamp as a service, meaning putting together bootcamps for ecosystems, for example, or for specific change, or let's say you are a project, you have an ecosystem around you, putting together a bootcamp is not your forte. Good, you can tag us in, we can put one together for you. This is another idea still on the whiteboard, but we've had already since September, so the finish of our last bootcamp and the exposure of, if I might say, how well we did it, we've had already 3 shows of interest from partners who would like us to put together a bootcamp for them and under their branding, but we're building everything in the background. So this is probably another lane, which would be quite interesting. not just for the expansion of our network, but also revenue generating for ourselves as an accelerator, where we can run this to the side. If it's sustainable, very easy to put together a 2 to 3 person team to run this as kind of a bootcamp as a service department of the accelerator, where on the side of our own brand name accelerators, that's just being done for clients, generating revenue, making us more sustainable as well, making us have our longer runways as well, supporting confidence with the investors too. So as a very side kind of lane, side project, but also contributing to the overall sustainability of our treasury, because if we're going to do it, we're going to generate revenue from it for sure.
Of course, yeah.
So these are some of the things that we're doing. So while keeping our core, being an awesome accelerator, driving impact, driving value back to the accelerator space in Web3, challenging more accelerators to do the same, yes? So if I've struck a nerve with some accelerators out there, I don't care, I don't mind, hate me, but come and do better. I challenge you to do better. I want to see you do better, do more. Let's challenge us by doing better, please. So bringing value back to the accelerator space is the core thing we want to do through our 1 month in-person boot camps that put together investors, mentors, experts, and startups, and the amazing value of the connections that brings, and that I've already covered in depth here. And coupling that with the reality show to boost projection, because then now you're not just exposed as a closed circuit of the bootcamp. Now you're online. Now we're looking at, very likely, projection on one of the major streaming platforms. Some of the numbers we've gotten as far as projection goes, we're talking about up of 30 million views for the next season. So how is this not interesting in terms of projection for startups, investors, and partners?
Of course.
Having this as the main lane of what we do, and then to the side, having some fun, because that's also what we're here for. So who knows? Bootcamp as a service to also help the community generate revenue as a steady income as well. And looking at some other fun stuff too. So yeah, man, we're here to have fun. We're good at what we do, good enough that we can spend some energy having fun with it as well. We're highly confident in the path forward. Our investors are highly confident as well. And we're here to disrupt. So, I know I talk a lot of shit today. If anybody's watching, did I struck a nerve? Do better. We're here for it. Let's help each other grow.
Exciting stuff ahead, man. Really exciting stuff.
Yes,
Thank you for coming, Nelson.
Brother, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. You conduct an interview second to none. This was really, really exciting.
Thank you.
Whenever I'm around, I'd love to be on camera, off camera. I can tell you feel excited about this stuff.
I'm really excited, actually.
Always happy to have a conversation with you, brother. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much as well for coming, Nelson. I really learned a lot. Thanks for watching this episode of Southeast Asia Brewing. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more future episodes of Southeast Asia Brewing. I'll see you in another episode. Bye-bye.